Hi guys, Skyrionn here. Right, this isn't a regular video. I was lucky enough to get in contact with one of the Lionhead Studios developers, Dene Carter. And basically, he said I could ask him some questions and he would give me some answers about the Fable series. Like development, that kind of thing. I'm going to put a transcript of the conversation as well so you can just read it. And just bear in mind that a ramble, so just bear with me. Enjoy. Now, I listed 10 questions and he just answered them all, So the first question I asked was that we had Project Ego, then WishWorld, and then Fable. How did Lionhead come up with the name Fable? And so he said it was kind of dull really. They wanted something that seemed closer to fairy tales that wouldn't turn off an audience or teenage young adults. And once they thought of it, it just fit. He thinks that he thought the name, but with creative discussions, Simon probably does too. The second question I asked was about the amazing storytelling, from the Void to the formation of the Guild to the return of the Jack of Blades. Where did all this come from? And so he said that he hates backstories in games, especially canonical backstories known by everybody in the world. It's ridiculous. Nowhere in the entire world will you find a community of people where every single person is a historically accurate encyclopedia of information. So with that on one hand, on the other hand, the game was going to be entirely procedurally generated. We were going to set up the overall theme, but we generally plan to have 100% of the narrative created by some clever algorithms. That would have been really interesting actually. So we started work on that and got a nice little sim village working. The villages would add houses when the economy and population allowed. Homeless communities would develop as the economy slumped. It wasn't ridiculously complex, but it did all the things that people would notice. And then we started trying to make all this stuff look nice. It couldn't. This was recognisable human stuff we were talking about. Washing lines, bricks and mortar, paving, statues. You can't make those vague. You can't just make a machine dump that stuff around the place and hope it looks nice. His artists were the first to notice, they could tell that everything was going to be bland and they were craving details. You want a pub? What kind of pub? How old? Who owns it? Is it popular? They needed these things to look real. I initially said, just make a pub, you could feel the daggers. One of them said, okay, so what's it called? Tell us at least. And so I said the Cow in the Corset, and I felt the room breathe with a sigh of relief. Isn't that the name of the one in Bowerstone? Finally, the breast said, finally, we have some faith that you can make up some random crap like the rest of us. At this point, the tech for random generation was clearly not going to cut it, and we realised that we needed a concrete story. Wow, it could have been so different. We contacted Mike Carey, the writer of Lucifer, and asked him to help us out. He provided the notion of William Black, an elder hero who started the guild. That means that William Black is Scythe. Cool. A lot of other things in the world came piecemeal from conversations with artists, comedy shows, favourite movies and so on. My job was generally to try and provide a glue that held everything together. Teresa is one, for example. One of our artists, Angus Sim, came up with her and thought it would be nice to have a blind character in there as it seemed mythic. My job was to fold it into the main story and then to extend the idea of how her heroic blood would alter around her disability. So she is a hero. Most of the story was like that, bizarre accretions of lore over time due to people asking for details on things. What people don't understand is that Fable 1 took 4 years of solid work. A lot of stories accumulate over that time and there's a desire for them. Wow. Now I always wanted to know if they were going to consider the history of Albion, with the Void and William Black and all that, as a story to a Fable game. I don't think we ever considered a prequel based on Fable lore. We were too wrapped up in the Blackadder notion of following the world through history, and how it dealt with things like a loss of faith in magic, and eventually industrialization. If I'd have been given the keys to Fable 4, I think that the backstory would have been prime material. Fable needs magic. So maybe that would have meant that magic and heroes possibly were coming back to Albion. A new heroes guild maybe? With stories they tend to constantly change. Was this the plot you was aimed for, or did you have a ton of different versions of the way you wanted the game to go? Due to the way of his writing, accretion and filling in gaps, the story was never anything we were precious about. When none of your citizens really know what caused the fall, you can be much freer. I'm assuming that's the fall of the court. And tell conflicting stories if necessary. People are always looking for rationalizations, not truth. If they were, we wouldn't have the political landscape we do right now. As a result, I have dozens of documents with dozens of variants on the story as regions were dropped, missions changed, and even the roles of key protagonists shifted. Angus and Mike had to come up with the Morcockian notion of the court, and I wanted Jack to be a facet of cosmic horror. I wanted Jack to be a Lovecraftian multi-dimensional entity. Peter wanted him to be a guy with a big ego. The disparities you might note in tone were due to how the disagreement played out. In lore, I've always found the idea of demon doors fascinating. It's rumoured that they are cursed humans from the Orc Kingdom. In lore, where did they actually lead? I'd love to know how he came up with them. The demon doors came from the sentient door knockers in Labyrinth. Ooh, interesting. One of his favourite films. I wanted doors that would have personalities. The story justification for demon doors is, like all Fable things, deliberately vague. They are leftovers from the Old Kingdom, where the rich and powerful and will competent could find magical ways to protect their belongings. Demon doors were, literally, intelligences bound into doors. Whether those bound within were human or demon, it's up for you to decide, based on what you know about the rule of the Archon. So years and years ago I read a magazine, and I can't remember which one it was, that there were originally 5 games planned, and I wanted to know if they had a storyline or an idea in place for Fable 4 and 5. Lionhead had no specific plans for Fable 4. One part of the team wanted to make a Victorian thing close to Bloodborne, in terms of cities and the historical setting. Microsoft wanted an always online multiplayer thing, and so here we are. So would that have been like Anthem or Sea of Thieves or something like that? The 7th question, Scythe is a pretty prominent character. It is hinted that he is in fact William Black. Is this true? Scythe is William Black, the Archon, the progenitor of heroic blood, the cursed wanderer, the undying. Seeing your children, unempowered, entitled and evil, has an effect on a man, no matter what he has achieved. Knowing that you were unable or too busy to give them the values that led to your own legendary heroic acts takes its toll, and so he cannot die, not for lack of trying. I guess that's why Scythe comes back every now and then to kind of check on the progress of the world. He's helping his children, and that must be Scythe at the end of Fable 2 with Rose. So I couldn't help myself, I had to ask what he thought about Fable 4 and if it was announced, and he's quite simple with his response. I hope that if Fable 4 is made, it remains British in idiom, retains a sense of humour and lightness of touch, does not contain orcs. He used the example that non-Star Wars movies wouldn't use a stormtrooper, that does make sense. It remains magical and vague, just like the demon doors, for that is how we live our lives, and rumour is always more intriguing than fact. Well, I hope they bring back magic. 9th question, is there anything interesting that you think fans would like to know? And this is where he kind of opens it up to everybody. No, but if people have questions about lore or why certain things are the way they are, I'm always happy to point to many influences and even give explanations if I think they won't ruin anything. And so then I asked him what he's up to right now. At the moment he's working on a couple of games, Project Amber and Bemuse, as well as writing for a soon to be announced action horror indie title. If you're interested, follow his Discord, I'll put the link below, or follow him on Twitter @Fluttermind. He also told me about these developer diaries he created. Basically goes through the process of what Lionhead went through to get Fable into production and published and all that, so I'm going to put a link to that below as well. I know I've ranted a lot and it's not my usual style, but I thought I had all this information and I just wanted to share it. So after this, I will probably go back to regular programming. Coincidentally, Monday's fact video is about Fable 2, so that's interesting. And then after that, hopefully, the Portal timeline video will be ready. Thanks for watching this video, be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it. I'll try and maybe get in contact with some other developers, maybe come up with a proper format for these kind of videos. Enjoy your day, bye.